to get a bad reputation in her profession. She lost the teaching position she held at a university, and all of her opportunities for advancement in the United States Geological Survey were blocked. Damn. She became so disgusted that she went to live in a small town in the Rocky Mountains of Colorado and remained silent for 10 years. Until I found out about her case and wrote about it in Forbidden Archaeology, giving her work some of the attention it deserves. Partly because of this, the Huaylico site is now being studied by more open-minded archaeologists, and hopefully before too long, her original conclusions about the age of the site will be reconfirmed. An anatomically modern human skull was found by the Italian geologist Giuseppe Ragazzoni at Castellandolo near Brescia, northern Italy, in the late 19th century. Ragazzoni found not only this skull, but the skeletal remains of 4 persons in layers of rock, which according to modern geological reports are about 5 million years old. Sometimes when Darwinist scientists hear of modern-looking skeletons being found in very ancient layers of rock, they say, there is nothing mysterious here. Only a few thousand years ago, someone died on the surface, and his friends dug a grave and placed the body down fairly deep. And this is why you think you have found a human skeleton in some very ancient layer of rock. Such things, technically called intrusive burial, can certainly happen. But in this case, Ragazzoni himself, a professional geologist, was well aware of the possibility of intrusive burial. If it had been a burial, the overlying layers would have been disturbed, but he checked very carefully during his excavation and found that the overlying layers were perfectly intact and undisturbed. This means that the skeletons really are as old as the layers of rock in which they were found. In this case, 5 million years old. Early in the 20th century, the Belgian geologist A. Routot made some interesting discoveries in his country. He found hundreds of stone tools and weapons in layers of rock 30 million years old. I mentioned in connection with the California gold discoveries that sometimes we are not allowed to see the ancient objects in the museum collections. In this case, I was able to see the artifacts. Once, when I was in Brussels for some newspaper interviews, a friend of mine was driving me around, and I suggested that we go to the Royal Museum of Natural Sciences, because that is where I thought Routot's collection should be. The first museum officials we spoke to had denied even having any knowledge of the collection. But finally, we found an archaeologist who knew the collection. Of course, it was not being displayed to the public. This archaeologist took me into the storerooms of the museum, and there I took photographs of Routot's collection of hundreds of 30 million year old stone tools and weapons from Belgium. Up to this point, all of the finds we've discussed were either made by professional scientists or were reported in the professional scientific literature. But if this evidence for extreme human antiquity really is there in the layers of the earth, then we might expect that people other than professional scientists might be finding it. And their reports, although they might not appear in the pages of scientific journals, might appear in the pages of more ordinary literature. I think we can predict that this should be happening. And in fact, it does happen. Let us consider an interesting report from the Morrisonville Times, a newspaper published in the little town of Morrisonville, Illinois, in the year of 1892. It tells of a woman who was putting a big piece of coal into her coal-burning stove. The piece of coal broke in half, and inside she found a beautiful gold chain, 10 inches long. The 2 pieces of coal were still attached to the ends of the chain, demonstrating that the chain had been solidly embedded in the coal. From the newspaper report, we were able to determine the mine from which the coal came. According to the Geological Survey of the state of Illinois, the coal from that mine is about 300 million years old, the same age as the human skeleton found in the same state. Let's go back to the scientific literature in 1862. A scientific journal called The Geologist, Volume 5, page 470, told of a human skeleton found 90 feet below the surface in Macoupin City, Illinois. According to the report, there was a 2-foot thick layer of unbroken slate rock directly above the skeleton. From the government geologists of the state of Illinois, I learned that the layers of the earth in which the skeleton was found are about 300 million years old, making the skeleton the same age as the gold chain found in the same state in 1852. The Scientific American reported that a beautiful metallic vase came from 5 meters deep in solid rock near the city of Boston. According to modern geological reports, the age of the rock at this place is 500 million years old. The oldest objects that I encountered in my research were some round metallic spheres found over the past 20 years by miners at Atosdalen in the western Transvaal region of South Africa. The objects are 1 to 2 centimeters in diameter. The most interesting are the parallel grooves that go around the equators of the spheres. The spheres were submitted to metallurgists for analysis before they were filmed for the television program The Mysterious Origins of Man. The metallurgists said they could see no way in which the spheres could have formed naturally in the earth, indicating they are the product of intelligent work. The spheres come from mineral deposits over 2 billion years old. We are nearing the end of this brief review of evidence for extreme human antiquity. I have given you only a small sample of this evidence. I could go on for quite some time because there are hundreds of such cases from the scientific literature of the past 150 years. I will end by saying this. We have been told by the Darwinists that all the physical evidence ever discovered by scientists supports their picture of human origins, which has human beings like us coming into existence about 100,000 years ago. I think we can safely say that is not true. There is a chain of discoveries going from 100,000 years ago all the way back to 2 billion years. I did not find any evidence older than that. I think it is, at the very least, an interesting coincidence that the ancient Sanskrit writings say humans have been present on Earth for 2 billion years. What does all this suggest? It means we need an alternative picture of human origins, and I intend to present one of my own in my next book, Human Devolution. In that book, I will suggest that we have not evolved upward from the apes on this planet as modern science tells us, but that we have devolved from an original spiritual position in higher levels of reality. How about that?